Welcome everyone to Whimsy Woven Stories. Here, we explore gripping tales of real-life twists. Join our storytelling community. I'm 43, she is 38. Next weekend is our 11th anniversary. Been a couple for 14 years and have 2 kids. I want to provide some important context leading up to it, and we'll try to be as to the point as possible. In early 2021, we were all home. Wife was working from home. Kids are homeschooled. We got bed bugs, and I wasn't able to help a whole lot as I was recovering from reconstructive hip surgery. Late April, we got COVID and ended up giving it to my mom in May. She ended up in the hospital and passed away June 3rd. It fell on me to be the one to have to pull the plug on her. 5 months later, my paternal grandma died. On our way back from her funeral, my maternal grandfather died. It took me a little over a year to do my mom's probate court, and it took up pretty much all my time as I did 95% of it myself. Mind you, still healing the hip. We got the inheritance and moved back to our home state. I told my wife she could take a break, and I would go back to work at our family acupuncture clinic. The kids started school, and instead of me getting to work, we both fell into depression for 8 months. She ended up going to work first and was upset about it, rightfully so. The next summer, early June, she took the kids to my sister's. My back went out, so I didn't go. She said we were in trouble and wasn't giving up but was frustrated, ready to leave, although she did not convey it was that bad at that time. We had a big talk about things. I started snapping out of it and putting in work to improve myself, our relationship, and the family. By January, my maternal grandma was diagnosed with cancer. I knew at some point I would be the one caring for her. My first stay with my grandma was about 6 days at the end of April. This is when she first started playing with other people with remote sex toys on app. Unknown to me at this time, I came home for 3 weeks. On May 1st, she sent me a text saying she has noticed my efforts, felt crazy for ever thinking about hanging it up, and we were in a good place right now. When the kids were out of school for summer, I took them and my grandmother's sister up again for 2 weeks. Came home again for 1 week and went back with our son. My wife came up with our daughter for 2 weeks end of June and early July. The day before we were all going to go home, my grandmother had a horrible bloody nose that lasted 4 hours. When I saw my aunt's face, I knew she could not do this by herself, so I stayed behind while my family went home. My wife told me she knew and that we were strong and could do this. Grandma died on July 18th. Wife and kids came back to get me. We went to a service for her, gathered some things to remember her by, and went home together. Celebrated my wife and our daughter's birthday on the 25th and 28th of July. 2 weeks later, she drops a bomb, essentially saying she found someone online that she started talking to as a friend and developed more than friend feelings for. That she loved me so much and was afraid this would break us but wanted to explore what she was feeling. I was of course furious as it broke my trust, our vows to each other, and dishonored my grandmother. I told her she needed to end it, break all contact, and delete everything about the event, or we would need to look at separation. She nodded yes. The next day, I had my first experience with anxiety and needed to went for a drive. She asked what she could do for me, and I told her she knew what I needed her to do, and she said yes. Yet she was clearly apprehensive to do so, and I pointed that out. She then went cold on me and has shown no real remorse. She has apologized, said she is disgusted in herself, etc., but only did so when I told her she has only apologized in writing and not to my face. Intimacy of any kind is gone. Over the following 7 weeks, I learned that she did not delete the pictures of him and refuses to do so. When I asked why, she shrugged her shoulder and said history, extreme sensual imagery in her hidden folder. I asked her to see the phone and she handed it to me, but as soon as she knew I saw him, she took it out of my hand. They have masturbated to each other several times, so she says. So it's probably more than a few. She has now changed the password on her phone twice in 4 days for the first time in 14 years. She had to go out of state for a same state as AP. She was extremely frazzled before the trip. Never seen her that way. I know she took 2 vibrators with her. She was supposed to be with 11 other women on the trip and staying with them, which I know she did at least sleep there because she would FaceTime me and the kids every night. She didn't say much to me the whole trip, though. I do suspect she met him in person there, but can't prove it. We have had a lot of talk since. But when I bring it up, she just throws the past in my face and makes it about her or what I did, which is why I'm including the extra context. She says things like, I don't know if the person you fell in love with exists anymore or ever existed at all. That she is disconnected from everyone, including me, and is barely hanging on to her emotional attachment to the children. She needs space to breathe. Can't make any promises to the future of us. It's like someone is wearing my wife like an Edgar suit. I don't know this, and honestly, it's freaking me out. When I asked to see her hidden folder again, she opened it, scrolled way the top really fast, and said, no, still some there. I said, let me see. She said, before or after I delete them. I said, give me the phone. She said no. So I told her we are done, put my ring on her nightstand. As I walked out, in my anger, though I did not yell, I said, you are being honest. You knew exactly where those pictures were because you scrolled right to them. You have destroyed this family. Hope it was worth it. Then I went for a drive. We now sleep in separate bedrooms. Don't talk much, hard to even look at her right now. Makes my blood boil, but I have not yelled or called her names. She pretends things are normal in front of the kids. Calls me babe, honey. It's bizarre behavior all around. I'm pretty sure she has a sex addiction of some sort. Often masturbates for hours, especially when stressed. Told me she started doing to cope with thing at the age 7. She is detached and void of any emotions. Thinks she might be poly or in, but can't maintain a relationship with me or herself apparently. Darts her phone like a hawk. We start therapy next week. She says she doesn't think our marriage is salvageable anymore, and all she can do is what needed to make sure we still have a roof over our heads, and that's all. Meanwhile, I'm the one doing everything now, and it's like our behavior is reversed from what you would expect as far as the cheater. And the cheated. Even my own therapist pointed this out. She says she is not talking to anyone online anymore. Doesn't have the capacity for that right now. Seems like a lie to me, but why would she tell the truth? Everything sounds like a lie because a lot of this she was doing while sitting right next to me. Because of finances and our lease, we are essentially stuck like this for the maximum of 3 more years. She starts a new job tomorrow, so at least we don't have to work together anymore. It's a nightmare all around. I don't sleep. Our youngest doesn't either. One of us is going for a drive almost every night. Anyway, what do you all think about this situation? Thanks, update. First, thanks to everyone for the comments and advice. I have reached out to an attorney, but finances are going to put that out of reach for a little bit longer. In the past 12 days, things have escalated. After originally posting this, I decided to look up the message history on her phone. Saw something odd right away and asked her about it. She showed me she did not have a contact for that specific number. It was a nothing burger, but it bugged her that I did that, and she went for a drive that night. 4 or 5 days later, she wanted to switch phone carriers all of a sudden. Said it would save X amount every month, but we would have to pay off old devices first, and that was not cheap. At first, I didn't care, but the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like a Hail Mary play. The old phone account was still active, so I printed off the last 3 billing cycles. It didn't take long to find the number. Area code matched up with the state she said he's from, and I paid $1 to get a name. This was the first lie, as she said they did not talk outside of the which I didn't believe to begin with. I have a good memory for faces, and since I saw him on her phone, I was confident I could confirm it and found his profile on social media. Bingo. So I called him, and he immediately tried to deny it, saying he didn't recognize her name. I told him I saw his face, and his number is all over her logs. It's not a coincidence. Let's have a chat man to man. He said he was at work, so I told him to get at me later. He didn't, of course, so I messaged him and told him to text me back if he didn't have that to call me. He sent me a message basically saying he wasn't going to say anything to me, to talk to my wife instead, and if I persisted, he would take legal action for harassment, which made me laugh, and I told him I figured he was a coward. Left it at that. The next day when I got home from work, she asked if I had texted him. I said, yeah, I did. I tried calling first, but he was at work. Then she said it was strange seeing his name pop up again. All of a sudden, I said his number should have never been in your phone to begin with. So she lied about exchanging numbers when she ended it. As I have proof, they talked the day after she said she ended it, and then again 4 days after that. She still has his contacts saved, pictures saved, and probably the messages too. She said when you have been talking to someone for a while and have to stop suddenly. Yeah, had to tie up loose ends and say our goodbyes. Ridiculous. So we had a pretty good argument about it. And of course, she brings up all her resentment and anger for the past. some of which she has a valid argument for. I don't dispute that. They are completely unrelated subjects to me, and one is not an excuse for the other. We ended it and acted cordial during dinner, and close to bedtime I was hanging out with our youngest and she went for a drive. I'm sure to talk to him, no doubt. Our youngest has just been sleeping with me lately and doesn't even bother trying to sleep in his own room anymore. The next morning when I got ready for work, I noticed she had left her ring on the shelf next to mine. I had messaged a family member about it all and sent a screenshot of a social media profile. They noticed the town he's from and looked back on a conversation they had with my spouse back in July. We had all been discussing relocating to a new state together last summer, sometime in the near future. Same state where the AP lives. Although I didn't know that at the time, my family said they liked the idea of the relocation and asked her to name me some towns. My spouse replied, well, the first one I looked at was, you guessed it, same town as this fool. I'm livid. I was ready to walk away when I took off my ring weeks ago, but this put the nail in the coffin. So I'm done. There is no going back now. Relevant comments. File for divorce and have hers served. Then text him and her and say I filed for divorce. You can have her. We are done. Good luck when both of you are trying to figure out who is cheating on each other and trusting never established. You have carefully guarded all the proof of his infidelity. Request shared custody. His relationship won't last long. Relationships that start like this say never. She idolizes her boyfriend, thinking that she has found the perfect man, only to realize that he is a man with flaws, etc. Everything is falling apart. You have all you need. So stop kicking the can further down the road. She has shown you that she has zero respect for you, and that BS about when you're talking for a while. You just can't stop suddenly. Look, just get your ducks in a row and send her. Packing and I would even FedEx all her. To his house if I were you. These POS cheaters really have some balls, yes. The cheated on always tries to do what is best, but is always not understanding that the other person is the issue and has to want to actually make it work. She does not, and she probably thinks you won't leave. All of this going for a drive is just to talk to this guy. You get that, right? You need to start going for drives and leave her at home with a baby. Get your exit strategy together. Start the divorce and let her figure out how she is going to be with this guy without you supporting her little affair. They never learn and always seem to fall for lies from other people, while disrespecting the person right in front of them. She will be back once the ex realizes he has to be the main. They never want that. They want things when it is convenient for them. Not all of her. Start working on your new life and let her get what she deserves. Best of luck, my friend. Story 2. We've been together almost a year, and I see myself marrying this girl even after learning the information I'll share with you below. Now she's always been pretty open about her sensual history with me. When she lost her virginity, she had some one-nighters. How she used to be, in her own words, an effing S. Which is odd because she tells me she's not that sensual of a person. But I've always understood and never judged. And she is tested and clean of STDs. She went away to a different state for college and was really into partying, drinking, party substances, coke, Molly, the usuals, which sex usually becomes a part of. Now I'd always just had a random number in my head of maybe 15 to 20 guys she'd slept with. She's had several boyfriends, one-night stands, that stuff. So that was basically a number I came up with that I saw as normal and didn't make me upset. But the other night I learned the real number, or at least her ballpark estimate, over 70. She lost her virginity around 15. And that's basically a different guy every 2 months over the last 10 years. I know doing the math isn't doing myself any favors. We were drunk, and she jokingly was pointing out I've only had sex with 3 different girls, herself included in those 3. When she first met me, she assumed I was some player who effed girls left and right, and to this day is amazed my body count fits on one hand. Me, being a drunk imbecile, asked what hers was. She paused and said I stopped counting a long time ago, but it's like somewhere around 70. I was able to hold in a giant holy effing crap somehow in my drunken state. But I honestly can, it's so shocking. For not being very sensual, how can you make love with so many different people? This is just an example of what my mind is racing around all day. I love this girl so much, that hasn't changed. And I know this is a me issue, and I won't judge her on her past, but it honestly made me feel so insecure for the last week, and it's driving me insane. We've made love twice since she told me, and it's just in my head every time. 70 other joysticks we hear. How many other guys have seen her pee? She's definitely had better than you. So many different dudes have used her for lovemaking. These toxic thoughts just running rampant in my head all the time, and it's driving me insane. It's so frustrating, and they won't go away when I really don't want to care about her number at all. People make love, it's normal. I know she chooses me at the end of the day. We all have a past that we regret. She's told me she'd slept with a lot of people. She regrets nothing about her past matters right now. And it shouldn't, but I need help on how to rid myself of this because I don't want this to ruin everything. I need help to just get over myself and feeling like this. I mean, making this post probably didn't help either, but here we are. How can I bring up that this bothers me without it making her upset and making her think I'm being judgmental? Sorry if this is a mess too. Kind of wrote it up fast. TLDR. Found out girlfriend's bot account is over 70, and it's really bothering me and making me feel extremely insecure. Some relevant comments. You don't bring it up to her. This is one of those things you've got to either just accept and leave alone or decide that this is a deal breaker for you and to walk. It's okay if this is a standard that you have. I don't know if this is real or not, but you're hitting on a sore subject for Reddit and society, and I don't think you will find a good, healthy, or helpful answer in this sub. This thread has already turned into a non-logic-based crap show. I've been in your position, and I get it. What do you want to do? Do you want to end it with her? Would you end it with her over something she did in the past that has no impact on the present or moral downfalls? Do you love your girlfriend enough to put in the effort to try and get over your feelings? While your feelings aren't wrong, you have to remember that many women you might date will have high partner counts. As you get older, your pool becomes more limited and people's numbers rise. If you have an otherwise great relationship and are invested in each other, I don't think it would be wise to leave that and have to play the field again, where you might find someone who is crazy. People think lovemaking is less special if you've had it a lot, but who are they to determine what is and isn't special to you and your so? Your so picked you. She loves you way more than any guy she's been with. People can argue values until they're blue in the face, but those are their values, not yours. You clearly love your girlfriend, and she loves you back. You're the best thing in each other's lives and will be way more special than any of the 70 guys. Your girlfriend isn't AS, she isn't disloyal. She's a girl who played the field and hit a home run with you. Talk it through and do more romantic activities together. I did that with my ex and got over those feelings quickly. Create more intimacy. I think you're probably right about making this post. It's not going to be helpful to you. This is Reddit, so a lot of people are going to tell you to just get over it. Get over yourself, not worry about it. Or stop being insecure, because everyone should be able to bang whoever they want, consequence-free. There are a lot of good reasons to be turned off by this. 70 people is a ton. I've had a couple male friends whose number of partners were in that ballpark, and I was always a bit grossed out. Neither was exactly discerning about who they slept with, so long as they slept with someone. They didn't care about the girls, they didn't care about themselves. Just went from girl to the next. Why? Couldn't tell you for sure. But it always felt to me like they couldn't quite help themselves. I can't tell you how many times I was told that one or the other wasn't even attracted to the partner du jour, and that they regretted it immediately afterward. It didn't take long before I seriously questioned their judgment on other things. I totally get not putting much significance in the physical act of love making itself, but dang. If your wood bang bar is low enough to let that many people over it in that amount of time. Especially if you regret a bunch of them, what else do you not care much about? At the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with it in short of a lobotomy. There isn't a way to just cut those thoughts out of your head. She's allowed to bang as many people as she wants, and you're allowed to feel however you feel about it. So ask yourself, can you live with it? Is she worth the discomfort? I think you need to own whatever answer comes up there. No shame either way. Personally, I don't think I could live with it in your shoes, and I'm sure just as many people would agree with me as would tell me I'm wrong for thinking that way. The good news is you don't have to listen to any of us. Story 3. We have Mike who patiently waits and plans for 9 whole months to nuke his cheating wife and her affair partner in one single day. My name is Mike. I am a 32-year-old man, and I married Kathy, who is 30 now. We got married after 3 years of dating. I work at a local bar as a bartender. I make a living serving drinks, and I am good at it. My wife Kathy works as a front desk at a local automobile dealership. She is beautiful and gets a lot of male attention at her office. She is active on social media and posts a lot of selfies, and they attract a lot of comments. Some of these comments are nasty and NSFW. She always tells me to ignore the bad ones and just concentrate on the good ones. As a husband, even the good ones cause jealousy. You see, if I post a selfie, I just get 4 likes and no comments. If she posts a selfie, it gets hundreds and thousands of likes and comments. I cannot compete with that. However, our life goes on, and I work hard to ensure that I provide for my wife. I plan to start a family with Kathy and to ensure that I give her a good life. I started to upgrade myself with further education. I never expected to grow a lot as a bartender. It is just a means to earn a living. I always save my tips, and now it was going to help me with my education. I told Kathy about my plans, and she was happy for me and offered her support. I started to shuffle between my work and education. By the time I came back home, I was exhausted both mentally and physically. I still tried to give Kathy my time as she was my priority. Over a span of few months, I saw a change in Kathy's demeanor. She was more interested in her phone than having a conversation with me. I did not pay a lot of attention to it, but it did start to bother me over some days. One evening when I was at the bar, there was a huge brawl that started between 2 groups of visitors, and it was so bad that cops were called and 15 people were arrested. The bar had to be closed for the night, and I left for home. I live in an apartment building and went straight up to my apartment on the 2nd floor. As I walked up to my home, I saw the door was not closed and the apartment was dark with all lights off. I saw 2 candles lit up, and I took out my phone hoping that this could be a surprise that my wife planned for me, and I will film it. I started recording and kept walking and tiptoeing so that no one knows that I am entering. As I reached near my bedroom, I stepped on a men's shoe. I was taken aback and my heart started beating fast. I slowly opened the door and my heart sank. My beautiful wife was riding another man. The man was blindfolded and was holding my wife by her waist. She was doing all the work. Through the low light by the candles, I was able to film them in that act. I did not know how long I was standing there, but it felt like an eternity. My sight was straight out of a Mia Khalifa hardcore movie, and it seemed like it got imprinted in my mind. It seems my wife was a different animal that day. She never did that with me. I slowly walked out of my house and ran out towards the nearby park and sat there on a bench. My heart was crushed. I did not know what to do. After sitting there for a few hours, I just decided to go home. I walked in and found Kathy sitting and watching TV. I was appalled at how she had changed within a few hours. I did not talk and just went asleep on the couch. Kathy came to me and tried to snuggle with me. I controlled my rage and just asked her to leave me alone. I told her that there was a bar fight and I just need to be alone for some time. She went back to the bedroom and went asleep. In the middle of the night, I got up and went to the bedroom. I searched for her phone and unlocked it using her face recognition. I went through her messages and call logs. I found out that she had been in an affair for the last 2 months with a mechanic who works at the dealership where my wife works. I saw explicit pictures that they had shared with each other. There were multiple videos of them in the act on my bed. There were more videos that they shot at the dealership in a car. I transferred all the videos and screenshots to my phone and went back to sleep on the couch. I left for my college and I was fuming all day. I called my boss and asked for the day off. I came home and just went on to lay on my bed. Something in my mind told me to check for any evidences in my bedroom. I searched my wardrobe and found a camera. It was this camera that shot the explicit videos that my wife made. I saw the hard drive that contained the videos. I quickly copied the hard drive to my laptop. I also found a packet of rubber in the drawer of the night lamp. I poked all the packets with a pin and kept them back. I also connected the camera with a Wi-Fi, so it saves the data on a cloud server. I knew that both my wife and her AP were not very tech-savvy with the way the camera was set up. So now the next time they went nasty, I will get the video on my cloud server. I giggled at the idea of poked-up rubber. Well, they did get nasty multiple times and used the same rubber that I had poked. I was surprised that they did not bother to check that it is leaking. One fine day, my wife started vomiting, and I knew it was wrong. I offered to take her to the doctor, and there the doctor told us that she is pregnant. I acted like I was overwhelmed and on cloud 9. The look on my wife's face was priceless. I knew that she did not want the baby, but looking at my joy, she could not say a lot. She said that we are not prepared financially. I shot that excuse down, saying that I will work hard. Now she was stuck with a baby. My wife is now 6 months pregnant in phase 2 of my plan. I went to a lawyer and explained what has happened. I also explained how I poked the rubber, and now my wife is pregnant. He laughed and then apologized for laughing. The lawyer said that he has never come across such a case in his entire career. He then asked if I am sure that the child is not mine. I told him I am sure, as we had no intimacy for last few months, and her pregnancy was discovered after 3 months of dry spell with me. The lawyer wanted to make sure that I was not the father. He also stated that we need go for a paternity test. Going for a paternity test could trigger my wife, and I did not trust what she would do. I could not risk that. He said that he has a plan. I told the lawyer that I did not want to be in a situation where I would have to pay for child support for a child that is not mine. He asked if I can somehow get some DNA from the AP. I had no clue how to do that. I called a friend of mine. Dusty was a former Marine and had been posted in Afghanistan for a few years. He was built like a tank. I met him and explained him my situation. He asked if I need to make the AP silent. I said no and told him I just need his DNA for a paternity test. I told him no violence. Well, Dusty is a guy who gets the job done. Next day, he came back with a vial filled with some white fluid. I asked him, "What is this?" He told me that this is AP's birth fluid. I wanted to ask, but did not ask how Dusty got it. He later told me that he requested him to do it in a cup for an IVF center. He paid him $20 for it. I gave Dusty $20 and went straight to the lawyer. He started laughing once I told him how we got the sample. He then asked for some money and told me that is for some ends that needs to be joined. Next day, I got a call from the hospital asking Kathy and me to come for some tests. I knew what is going on and took Kathy with me. She was worried and was anxious throughout the way. We got some samples for tests and Kathy asked the doctor, "What is that for?" He did not elaborate much and said regular test for the well-being of the child. I was sad when he said that. The statement pierced my heart and could not imagine how low I had come for revenge. On one hand, I had a cheating wife who was caught on video cheating on her husband, and on the other side, I had an unborn child who was innocent and was coming to this world because of my actions. I was torn and discussed this with Dusty. He said God has different plans for every individual, and you never know what fate lies for the child. He said that the decision lies with me. I once wanted to back out and take care of the child. 2 days later, I got hold of my wife's phone again while she was taking her afternoon nap. I saw some more images and more texts with the AP. This time, however, they were discussing how I was a fool for taking care of their child. My decision changed that very moment. I asked my lawyer to prepare for the divorce as soon as the child is born. I did not want to hurt the child during pregnancy. He said it will be done. In a few weeks, we had the DNA reports, and it was clear that the child was not mine. The child belonged to the AP. We attached the report to the divorce files and waited for D-Day. I was at the hospital with my wife at D-Day, and she went into labor. Once the child was born, they came to me for filling the forms for the birth certificate. I refused to sign them. Once my wife was stable and fine, I went to her with my lawyer and told her that I have refused to sign the birth certificate and want her to put AP's name on the form. She was shocked and went to silent mode. Dusty then walked into the hospital with the AP and took him straight to sign the forms as the father of the child. I could see that he seemed roughed up. Dusty smiled at me and just gave a thumbs up. The AP then signed the documents and came to my wife. I handed my wife the divorce papers and asked that she does not enter my house. I told her that she will be in the hospital for the next 2 days, and by then all her stuff will be moved to the AP's place. The AP tried to say something, and Dusty then smacked him on the back of his head. It went as we planned, and my wife was served. I thought once to take a look at the child, but somehow I could not gather the courage to look at the child. I was still sorry for him, as I knew that I would have given him a better life. I left the hospital with my lawyer and Dusty. Later, once I reached my home, I broke down crying, and I don't remember how long I cried. Next morning, I sent all of Kathy's stuff to the AP's place. Dusty later told me that not all of the stuff could be put inside his home. Some of it is still lying outside their door. In the meanwhile, I kept getting calls from Kathy, and she kept asking me to forgive her. I told her she should save the apologies for the future when her child grows up, and she has to apologize to the child for ruining what could have been a better life for him. I got divorced a few days later. In the court, I saw Kathy carrying the baby, and still I could not look at the baby. I just could not. It has been 4 years since I got divorced. I am working in a consulting firm, and I make a good living. I have moved from that city until this day. I regret what happened with the baby. I hope that the baby gets a great life. I am planning to get married in the future, and that may be a story for another time. Thanks for listening. Share your opinion in comment section, and also do like and subscribe to the channel.